everybody, how you doing? It's Wednesday, July 14th. Just put up the new episode of my podcast. Check it out. You could get it right here. The link is right here in the description below. So yesterday everybody was freaked out about inflation, and then we got a spike up in bond yields, a little blip up in bond yields, and some Fed FOMC member came out and said that she thought we're getting close to the conversation where we ought to be talking about taper. But Powell reversed all that stuff today, so everybody was cheering. This is another crazy example of how people chop themselves up, trading the markets, jumping in on headlines every which way whenever somebody says something, not having a roadmap, not having a compass, not knowing what to look at. But again, I get a kick out of it. I have to be honest. I really do. And when I see all this talk about the Fed, this non-stop, incessant talk about the Fed, I've been all through this. The Fed is a bank. Yeah, the Fed has power because it has monopoly power in that it sets interest rates and that's price setting. But governments have power like that. Governments that are currency issuing, they have a monopoly over that currency, the rate of interest it pays. Come on, you got to get over it. Got to get over it. I see this. There was a big, I don't know if you saw this. You can go check it out. It's on YouTube. Frontline, it's a PBS show, public broadcasting show. They did a show on the Fed, like a documentary on the Fed, the all-powerful, mighty Fed. And they interviewed some former FOMC members, and they're talking about how, we just create money. It's like a magical thing. And I'm like, oh man, there's hardly any discussion in there, of course, about the power of the government as the fiscal authority. Again, it just completely dismisses or ignores or misunderstands, lack of understanding about the fact that the Fed is a bank, it makes loans, it's a regulatory body, and if it has any power at all, it's the power that Congress granted to it in setting interest rates. Okay, most of what the Fed does involves just shuffling around assets in the economy. And basically those assets are either straight cash, all right, or cash equivalents, which are treasuries. They're going to take some treasuries out, they're going to put some cash in, they're going to take some cash out, they're going to put some treasuries in. Treasuries and cash are treasuries are cash equivalents. People are going so bananas over this. Like, at some point when you realize, what these operations mean and what the Fed can actually do, you got to sit back and just shake your head or laugh or something. It's really this focus, this intense, crazy focus on the Fed every single day. And I think even the Fed members, a lot of them, they're very defensive about this because I think a lot of them are themselves really kind of mired up in the misconception about what they do. So, I look at that and I'm just like, here we go again. But I don't know how many times I have to say that just presents an opportunity. When you see stuff like that. Anyway, let's get back to what's going on. Markets, S&P, I think, and Dow eked out small gains. The NASDAQ was down. One thing interesting, and I don't know if I mentioned this in my last video, but I'll mention it now. If you look at the Russell 2000, now the Russell 2000 is considered like a good barometer, or it's often considered like a barometer of the U.S. economy because in that index, there's 2,000 smaller companies that basically they operate in the domestic U.S. economy. And that thing has been flat. The Russell 2000 has been flat since basically late March, early April. And coincidentally, that also kind of lines up with my fiscal flows, which peaked out around the same time and then, kind of went flat in terms of the growth rate, in terms of average daily flows, that sort of thing. So I just find that interesting because that makes sense to me. I mean, that makes sense that if the Russell 2000 is kind of a sensitive, economic indicator for the U.S. economy, and of course I say flows, is what drives that, this alignment between the two things, the flows and that index, to me that's just logical. And it also, I think, suggests that, we're in a period of kind of maybe a little bit of a deceleration economically. Tomorrow is going to be interesting because I noticed that last week, average daily unemployment benefits were up for, I think it was the first time in 4 weeks. And so far this week, the data for Monday and Tuesday, average daily unemployment benefits are up even more than they were last week. So I would not be surprised. I don't know what they're looking at in terms of a number tomorrow on the weekly unemployment claims. I think it's something like 365 or 375,000. But I would not be surprised if we get a higher number, because I'm just thinking here, like, why are unemployment benefits going up? We know that, 25 or 26 states cut benefits. So, and that was showing up in the data for like 3 weeks, almost a month. I mean, I saw weekly that unemployment benefits being paid out, that number was going down every single week, but it just popped up last week, and so far in the first 2 days this week, it popped up too. So I'm going to be watching that number pretty close tomorrow. Gold was higher. Look, I think I mentioned that producers were heavy sellers of gold in the week ending July 6th. That was last Tuesday. Funny thing going on with gold right now. It's kind of, although today I could understand it because Powell said, hey, we're not going to do taper. And again, folks, let me just reiterate. Taper is not stimulus, okay? It's exactly what I just described earlier. It's just a reshuffling, a redistribution of assets, okay? Fed is taking away treasuries, it's putting in cash. Treasuries are cash equivalents, so it's basically one form of cash being taken out for another form of cash being put in. Everybody thinks that this is stimulus. Everybody also thinks that if taper ends, that's some kind of a tightening. It is not a tightening. I mean, I put up the numbers every week on what's going on with bank reserves. We had that week 2 weeks ago when you had a record 1 week drop in reserves, 250 billion out of the banking system. I mean, nobody said anything, just me, right? I mean, you didn't hear any one of these guys, particularly in the camp that's always talking about printing money, they're printing money. Where was the unprinting money? They're unprinting money. Where was that story? Where was that story? There was no story. I mean, these guys are so into their freaking dogma, and into their narrative. They can never veer off of that. They can never see. There could be bombs blowing up around them, everything going the opposite direction, and they're going to stick with that story. And people are just going to, I think it's easier for people to just go with that story and not try to really understand what's going on, which again is fine with me. All right, that's fine with me. You can choose to do that if you want. Myself, I lean towards knowledge and information and understanding what's actually going on. But anyway, getting back to the taper, taper is not stimulus. All right. Check out that PBS documentary that I was telling you about. Just type in YouTube, type in Frontline PBS, the Federal Reserve. And a lot of you here, since you've been following me for a lengthy period of time, I think, and you've learned stuff, you're gonna view that in the same way that I viewed it, and it's just like, it's like sheer rubbish. It's like a really very uneducated documentary, if you want to call it that. It asks all the wrong questions. It assumes all the wrong things. I mean, you're going to see it for yourself, because I think a lot of you get what's going on. I think a lot of you now understand what's going on. So, check it out and have some fun with it. I don't know. Anyway, check out my podcast. The link is here in the description below. Don't forget to go to my website, pitbulleconomics.com, and sign up for a 30-day free trial of MMT Trader. Now, I'll be looking, by the way, this week. What's today, the 14th? Tomorrow, the 15th. I think this week is the week when we start to see those child tax credit payments go out. So I'm going to be looking for that, and particularly to see if it makes any sort of an impact or a change in the flows. If it does, then I'll tell you this, that Russell 2000 that's been going sideways, for the last 4 months, 3-4 months, that's going to break out to the upside, and small stocks will be, small caps will be the place to be. But I have to see some evidence on that first. All right? All right, that's it for now. See you tomorrow. Bye.